County back to the school, how we all in it. How it's all friends with cross weapons of it. Boy, if you a sports fan, you know what to do, man. Who and who share, we don't talk everything, man. Courtside shows me, you put in the play by play when they want the real deal. This is all you gotta say. Nothing's out of bounds, he's real, looking for lunch. Nothing's out of bounds, he's real, looking for lunch. Nothing's out of bounds, he's real, looking for lunch. Nothing's out of bounds, he's real, looking for lunch. Who is the sports fan? Who is the
All right, all right. Welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. I am your host, Johnny McDonald. You can follow us at Root for Laundry, as it says on the ticker, on IG and Twitter. Follow us and like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel and also on the Facebook page. Thank you again for joining us. Today we're going to cover the Cleveland Browns. What's there to say about the Cleveland Browns? I don't know. But my guest sure does. My guest at this time, he's a writer for My Mind on Sports, and he also has a podcast called the Petty Eddie Podcast. Give it up for Eddie McDonald. What's up, Eddie? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thanks for joining us, man. So first of all, I apologize I couldn't get Dolph Ziggler with us. So
No, it's all right. Next time.
that's yeah, next time when we make it big, he'll call us. So
Right. He'll call you. Absolutely.
yeah. So, all right, I'll start right off the bat. How did you become a Browns fan?
All right. So my dad has always been a Browns fan, dating back before I was alive. I was born in '91. So I only had 4 years of them, which my dad, of course, wanted me to be a Browns fan. He hates everything Pittsburgh. I still don't really know
Uh-huh.
the full reason why, but that's just his
Uh-huh.
thing. So he roots for any team that's not Pittsburgh. So I'm located north of Pittsburgh, so everything around me is Pittsburgh related. They
Okay.
left, they left in '95. And my grandfather also was a Cleveland Browns fan. His stepdad, he grew up in Akron, huge Cleveland everything fan. So they came back in '99. My dad was real excited. He bought me a bunch of Brown stuff. But at the time, I was rooting for the Vikings because I was playing flag football. I was on the Vikings, and the year before, Randy Moss got drafted. And when he got
Yeah.
drafted, I was like, "Oh, that's my guy. That's who I
Uh-huh.
like. That's my team." So for the next however many years, I followed the Vikings, and then I really followed where Moss went. And then slowly started getting back. I rooted for the Browns, because of my family, and then I
Yeah,
slowly was, uh, getting into a fandom of them. Then my grandfather became sick, so he had a bunch of sicknesses to deal with throughout time. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna root for them a little bit more. And then when he passed away, I was just like, all right, that's it. The Browns are my team. No,
nice.
nothing else. So a lot of people say, oh, they suck. Yeah, I know they suck. They've sucked
Yeah,
for most of my
a long time. Yeah,
existence. You know, I don't even recall if they were that good when, the 4 years I was alive when they were in Cleveland. But no, it's a family thing, so I'm gonna keep it at that. And that's just, and people are like, oh, they suck. Yeah, they suck, absolutely. But I'm still gonna
yeah,
cheer for them. I'm still gonna wear the brown and orange every Sunday. I'm gonna tweet about it. I'm gonna put it on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever.
yeah. So you living in I guess Pennsylvania, nearby Pittsburgh. It's not Cleveland's not that far from you, right?
No,
Like
so
a
where I'm
couple
at,
hours.
really, it's like I'm sort of like in the point of the triangle where I can get to Pittsburgh in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just depending on traffic. And Cleveland's about 2.5 hours. So like I'm
Yeah,
right there to either one. So it's really not far to travel. Obviously,
yeah.
I've been to Pittsburgh a lot more than I have been to Cleveland.
Hmm.
But yeah, but it's not bad. But where I'm from, it's like predominantly like Pittsburgh Steeler fans, which I
Yeah,
hate.
and you're not far from Buffalo either, right? If you
No, not as far. I mean, that's a little bit further away, but still, that's right there too. So a lot of people, they don't like the Steelers around here, which is rare. They like the Bills. They like the Browns. They like, they like a handful of other teams, but those three teams are the ones that dominate the area I'm in. Because if you travel north of
yeah.
me to Erie, it's more Buffalo because they're closer to Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so it's just a mix of things. Mostly Steeler fans, but all three cities aren't far from where I'm at.
Yeah, they're both on. All the stadiums are basically on Lake Erie, right? They're just like
Right outside
floating
of
around there.
Pittsburgh, just south of that. So.
Yeah. Shout out to Jules, by the way. Hermanos de Donald would be our Lucha tag name. It's hilarious.
That's my
So,
guy.
yeah. So, all right, yeah, you went over to like 1995. Like they had most of their success, I guess, after you were born, when the 80s with Bernie Kosar, and they went to like all
Before I
these
was born,
AFC.
yeah.
Yeah, before you were born, and like all these get to the AFC title game, but never come through. Denver was always in the way. So,
Yep.
after 1995, you just discussed when Art Modell relocates him to Baltimore, which and Browns fans, which have a loyal following. Like you're not the only Browns fan. I know a lot of Browns fans, and
Yeah, that's the
that
thing about Browns fans.
yeah, kind of like and I know when one day when their time comes and they get it all together, then everybody's gonna go ape shit in
Facts.
Cleveland. Yeah. So like when they moved, like how did you feel or how did your dad? I mean, you were alive, you were a kid at like maybe a
Right, I
baby at
was
the time, but I mean, I guess coming from your father, your grandfather, how did they feel when they left in the middle of the night, so to speak?
I was 4, so I don't really remember a whole lot of them moving. I know my dad
Hmm.
was pretty upset that they left. He would have to, I guess, find a new team because we didn't know that 4 years later they would be coming back. Nobody knew that.
Yeah.
I don't think
But
so.
not the
He wrote.
Steelers. That's
All
for
right.
sure.
No, definitely
Yeah.
not the Steelers. My family is mostly Steeler fans, but he, for whatever reason, has never liked the city of Pittsburgh. He doesn't like driving in it. He doesn't like going
Yeah.
to it. He doesn't like the teams from it. So he picks otherwise. So he was rooting for somewhat of the Dallas Cowboys fan. My grandmother rooted for them a little bit. So he rooted for them, but not really like diehard, And then, so I don't really remember much of when they left. I remember he was a little upset about it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like something that stuck out to me in my childhood that was like, oh wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
huge then.
Yeah, and when they move, it's not like they move the history and the logo. They worked out a deal where it's like, all right, the history, the logo, the colors, in case if they were awarded a franchise, they stay here. Kind of like the same situation in the NBA with the Seattle SuperSonics.
Right.
If a team moves there, they're going to become the Sonics again.
Yep.
So, or if expansion by some chance. So it's kind of the same situation. So I guess after a 3 season hiatus, the Browns return. So now you're a little bit older, and like, how are you feeling now that the Cleveland Browns are back?
All right. So like I said, I was a Vikings fan at the time because Randy Moss,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So
my
you were
like
like,
football team.
okay,
But then my dad was real like excited about it, and I was 8 years old at this time, and I remember him and his then girlfriend at the time went up to Erie to go shopping for whenever they went shopping. I don't know if I was there, and he went out and bought me a Tim Couch jersey, a Browns
Nice.
hoodie, and some other Browns
Hmm.
gear and stuff. Trying to basically win my allegiance to
Yeah.
fandom. So it was
Yeah.
cool. So I rooted for both teams. Mostly the Vikings because like I said, Randy Moss.
Yeah, you're
But then
Randy Moss. Yeah, that was a hot team, man. Yeah.
so slowly getting into. So I had Brown stuff, I had Viking stuff. So it was pretty cool, and like there was excitement around the league. Uh, Even seeing it as an 8-year-old, and there wasn't social media at the time. There was barely
Yeah.
even the internet. So like it's cool to see like people talking about it. Like my dad was real excited about it, and that's something that I was like, oh, if he's excited about it, this must be something cool. And they played well. And then about 2002-ish, the year they went to last year they went to the playoffs.
Playoffs. Yeah.
Played in
That
2003.
would.
Then the fandom started to die down, and then for the next 17 years later, it's been tragedy after tragedy.
Yeah, I was about to say, ever since the rebirth of them, they only had two like winning seasons where
Yeah,
they have a winning record. So 2002, you mentioned before, when the Browns got in the playoffs, they go 9-7 under head coach Butch Davis, and yeah, Tim Couch, number one overall pick, is yeah, he has a great season till the final game of the year. He gets hurt, and Kelly Holcomb is now the quarterback for their. And they play a close game against Pittsburgh. Do you remember? I guess since it's Cleveland versus Pittsburgh, is that had to be a big deal around
yeah. I
your
remember watching it with my dad. I remember he was real excited about it, and I remember I was excited about it because the Browns are in the playoffs. My dad and I are watching the football game. And his girlfriend at the time, and then they weren't really my brothers and sisters, but that's what we treat each other as brothers
Yeah,
and sisters.
absolutely.
Most of them were Steelers fans. My sister was a Raiders fan. I think she was the only oddball out besides me and my dad. So it was fun to watch. I remember it snowing there. I remember the Browns had a big lead, and I was looking up some things over the past couple of days, getting ready for this to see if I had my facts straight about that. I remember it was
Uh-huh.
Kelly Holcomb, not Tim Couch, because a lot of or my dad was a little bit worried. I think at the time that our quarterback's down, but Holcomb filled in remarkably. He won the last game of the season, get 9-7. Played
Hmm.
fantastic in the playoff game, threw for the second most yards in a playoff game ever in Browns history, behind Bernie Kosar. I
Hmm.
remember the fumble of Antoine Randall L that was overturned. I
Yeah.
was excited, and then I thought about that years later, and it's just painful that they've overturned that, because that was probably. I mean, it's hard to say. There's still 12 minutes or something left on the clock, but that would have put Cleveland in a big position, up 2 scores, potentially get a field goal. That's all they do is get a field goal, extended to 17. It didn't happen. But I remember
Yeah.
it was a close game. I remember it was coming down to the wire. All three of their games that season did. They were all three games were won by Pittsburgh on a field goal, or like by a field
Hmm.
goal margin, I should say. They won by a field goal in overtime. Earlier in that season, they won by 3 later in the season, and then in the playoffs, they won by 3-2 on a comeback that, that one, the drive doesn't hurt me as much. The Elway led drive, and then things of that doesn't hurt me as much as probably what my dad. This
Yeah,
one
yeah,
hurts a little
absolutely.
bit.
Yeah.
This one hurts a
Because
little
you,
bit. I was only 12 when the Steelers had
yeah,
to
so
come
this is like
off.
your first good memory of the Browns being actually good.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it was good, to see them come back, and everyone was excited. But yeah, they were in the playoffs. They're playing the Steelers. They all hate each other. Joey Porter and I forget who the other guy was. Were talking shit during the game or pre-game. And
Hmm.
of course, the Steelers won. But that's something I go back to. I mean, the Steelers have just whooped our ass for many years. A
Years,
lot of
yeah.
that, a couple years after that, they got Ben Roethlisberger. Actually, they got him in, that year, later in that year in that draft. And the
Hmm.
rest is history with that. But yeah, that's my first like painful memory of the Browns.
Hmm.
And then yeah, it just sucks. I hate the Steelers. I
Yeah.
hate them. And what's weird is like growing my first few years, my dad tried to influence me to be a Browns fan. Everyone else was a Steeler fan. My uncle was this big bear of a dude that I was
Hmm.
scared of him, but I hung out with him at different times, and when my cousins watched me, and he was a huge Steeler fan, so I couldn't
Uh-huh.
be a fan of the Browns around him, because
Oh God.
that wouldn't be that wouldn't be good. So I was
So
sort of like a Steeler
if you,
fan, but then I can form my own opinions once I got a little bit older.
yeah,
And like I said, once I started playing flag football, and I was on the Vikings, and then Randy Moss came, and then they were pretty good for a few years. Then that didn't turn out well for them. But
So
yeah,
your uncle,
so
I guess your uncle kind of tried to, I guess, brainwash you into becoming a Steeler fan, or
it really wasn't
just
even a brainwash. It was more like an
just
intimidation thing. Like,
I
no one's
got
gonna
you.
be
You better root for
you're rooting the
that.
Steelers in this house. So you're not coming in this house. And
Yeah.
that's when my cousins watched me a lot. My mom worked, so it was cool.
Gotcha.
But then I get older and get my own
Yeah,
opinions.
opinions exactly. So yeah, I'll fast forward to I guess the other winning season they put up 2007. They go 10-6 on under Romeo Crennel, and that's a good team. That's a really good. I mean, 10-6. But you had like Pro Bowlers out of that.
Yep.
Derek Anderson, a QB, Braylon Edwards, who I liked a lot because he's as a Jet fan, he was with
Hmm.
us for a little bit. Josh Cribbs, great kick returner, like playing with him in Madden, and then Kellen Winslow, who had
Yep.
a weird career because I remember he had that leg injury and then he had that big motor like that motorcycle accident
Yep.
would really sideline him, and Jamal Lewis was also there, so that was a good team.
Yeah, it was a great team, and 10-6. That's usually a playoff spot. But
Yeah,
sadly for them, the AFC was loaded that year with a bunch of teams, and they just lost out on the tiebreaker. That hurt a little bit because they had such a good season, something that we weren't used to really. Something that
hmm
they had a bunch of star players like you said, Braylon Edwards and Kellen Winslow, and Jamal Lewis was there, and Derek Anderson played out of his mind that year.
yep.
So it was a good call. The defense wasn't horrible. It was good, but then all right, well, we're not in the playoffs, so it didn't really
Yeah, that
matter.
that had to burn.
It
Yeah,
hurt that we didn't get to play in the playoffs. But that's the last good season they had. They've been competitive a few seasons after that, and then they've had some not competitive seasons.
yeah, yeah. There's so many head coaches, so many QBs. I've lost count.
I've lost count. There's that picture that floats around on the internet that Tim Couch gets his jersey, holds it up. It's Couch
hmm
won, draft night, and then it crosses off Couch, and another name goes up, and another name, and another name,
Yeah.
and another name, so forth and so on. And I think it's over like close to 30, between 20 and 30, because I
Yeah,
always write
there's a
about the
day.
Browns on the various outlets I have, mostly my Modern Sports that we talked about earlier. And I've done a lot of research on them and going back and seeing different things, and it's just all of these quarterbacks, and
Yeah.
every few years, oh, this could be the guy. Nah.
Yeah, I think Crennel might be the longest tenured coach. I think he did 4 seasons compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I think you are correct. No one else has really done much of anything. I mean, they've had
Like two,
guys that have
three
been there
years, and
for
that's it.
that's
Yeah.
max. Some guys have a year and they're out,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where you can't help but just be like, all right, well, here we go again.
Yeah. So like I'll fast forward to like the rest of the most accomplished 2011 the game Madden 12 comes out and Peyton Hillis is on the cover.
Which
Who's
surprises me to
probably
this day.
yeah, it surprised a lot of people, which might be, and I hate the disrespect, but it's like probably the least accomplished player to ever get that
Probably.
cover.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
probably
think he had close to 1,000 yards or over 1,000 yards that season, but it's not like he was the league leading rusher. It's not like he led the league, and he had a lot of touchdowns. But I don't know if he led the league that year. It's not like he was like anything explosive. We're used to seeing like Mike Vick and
yeah.
Ray Lewis and all these different guys. But then Peyton Hillis, as cool as a Browns fan, yeah, we got the
Yeah, we got the Madden,
we got the
yeah.
Madden cover, but then the Madden cover comes with the Madden curse,
The curse,
and he really
yeah.
wasn't the same after that. He really was not anything close to the same after that, unfortunately, and.
And he
So
was
it was
out the
really
league
good.
maybe like 2 or 3 seasons after that.
Yeah,
He was
something like
just
that. Two,
bounced
three. It
around,
wasn't
and yeah,
max.
that was it. Yeah, I think what's the name broke the Madden curse now after Mahomes. You know?
Yeah, I think so. But at the time there was no such thing as breaking it. If you went on that thing,
Yeah.
something was happening. You were either going to get a season-ending injury, your team was going to miss the
Uh-huh.
playoff, you would just play poorly.
Uh-huh.
And naturally, the Browns had to get some sort of the curse because they're one of the
Yeah, they're the
worst
Browns.
franchises in all of sports. There's
hmm
they have them in every sport. The Browns are notorious for being the NFL's laughing stock, but what can you
Yeah,
do?
which funny, like Mahomes not only broke the curse, he set records. He won a Super Bowl, was the highest paid player ever, and now he owns a part of the team.
Right. Yeah.
Which
So
is great. If that's the way the curse reverse, like the next person who's on it, Lamar Jackson now, he'll probably own the whole Ravens team. Who
he
knows?
very well could. Maybe the Orioles. Maybe he can get some money in the Orioles.
Yeah, they need it. Yeah, so Yeah, so I'll pass on another non-football related. 2014, the movie Draft Day comes out, starring Kevin Costner, which is based on the Browns. I be honest, I haven't seen the movie yet. Did you, as a Browns
I've
fan, did
never
you?
seen it.
Oh, you never seen it? Okay, I
I've
think
never really had an
usually
interest in
you.
that. Like,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
they can a movie can portray how like drafts actually are, but it's not the same. You know, I'd rather just watch
Yeah,
the coverage.
absolutely.
I'd
Yeah.
rather just watch the coverage on the the networks that air that, and just I never watched that. Never.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make it my being because like as far as like any even though like the teams I root for, there's not too many like movies based on them. Like some of like Knicks. I mean, like I know the movie Eddie came out,
I
and
love that
I
movie. That's a
barely.
great movie.
You know what? I can't find
I don't know if
it.
it's online anywhere.
It's not online anywhere, not even on YouTube. I was trying to find any pirate, like any like pirate. I was gonna break the law and just like just look,
Right.
but I can't. I would have to probably find it on eBay for like somebody has a VHS, and now I have to find a VHS player, or maybe it's
Right.
any miracle somebody has Eddie on DVD. But like movies based on your team, like I like sometimes like I'll make it a duty to watch because it's based on your team. But
Right. Yeah, this
yeah,
I didn't really have any interest in. I'm sure it was probably a good movie. Kevin Costner's pretty
yeah,
good, but it just was not something that's like, oh, like that's a sports movie. I gotta
yeah,
watch that.
yeah.
Oh, that's my
Ooh.
team. Oh, I gotta see that one. It's the Browns. I was like, okay, so they're going to talk about the Browns' history of not drafting well, and okay,
Yeah,
I live that every year. I don't need to see that, on the big screen and pay
yeah.
my money to go. Oh, hey, there's that's the Browns team. That's cool. That's their logo. They're talking about the Browns. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. How many games have you been to? Have you ever been to a game in Cleveland
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything?
Last year we went to the Browns and Steelers game where the infamous Miles Garrett and me
Oh, the
tore up
Garrett.
tires.
Oh, so you were there. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how was that? That had to be a
So
rowdy
so it was
atmosphere.
so what's crazy about it is I was drinking most of the night. It was freezing cold there. I dressed way
Yeah.
under proportion. I was just excited, but then
Mm-hmm.
I started to drink and they have like IPAs in the stadium, so they're a little bit more
Yeah, it warms you
more
up.
content than it warms you up a lot. So I don't even know how many I had, because they're like $12 a pop or whatever they were. So I would just had however many. So I remember watching it and I remember the crowd was going nuts and I remember seeing it. But then on the way home so we drove to my dad's house, Erie, and then shot over to Cleveland. We all just rode together because him and his girlfriend and
Mm-hmm.
her son came with me and my girlfriend, all rode together. So I went to sleep on the way home. So I don't
Okay.
remember. And then I wake up the next morning after we get back home, and I'm just like, why is everyone texting about Miles Garrett? Like, what is happening right now? I didn't remember.
What did he do?
So I quickly went into Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and then I saw. I was like, oh yeah, okay, now I remember. So it was like wow, because like all the people were like, it was like no one knew what was happening, but knew what was happening at the same time. If that makes sense, it was like weird because
Yeah.
and I was also talking to former Impact Wrestling wrestler Dave Chris, who's a Browns fan.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It was nice until his name was in the Me Too movement, the Speaking Out movement. But
Yeah.
at the time it was cool because I had met him
Yeah.
online, bought training camp tickets from him earlier that season, met with him at the stadium. Sat with him and his friends for a little bit, talked with them. So we were like, we're seeing this, and then we're waiting for I'm talking with him a little bit, and we're waiting for crowd to let down a little bit after the game's over. And like we didn't really discuss that, but I remember, where I was like, oh, he just hit him with his helmet, So like I didn't remember
Yeah.
it. I didn't remember it the next morning, but I remembered it then. It was a wild atmosphere, and then I don't know much about this, but I guess it caused some tension in the car ride home. Like I said, I was passed out, so
Yeah.
I didn't hear much of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it was a wild thing, and it was awesome because it was the first time that I've been to a Browns and Steelers game. They've won. The only Browns games I've ever been to were against the Steelers.
Oh, okay. Oh, in Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh's obviously easier for you
Well,
to get
I
to.
went to one in Pittsburgh, 5 or so years ago, and it just poured on us the whole time. But whatever, I didn't care.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah,
higher up,
football that happens, yeah.
and the Browns lost like 21-7. And then years prior, I was like a freshman in high school, so like 03, 04-ish, 05, somewhere in that area.
Hmm.
My dad and I went to a Cavs game. His girlfriend at the time had Cavs tickets from work. Went to the Cavs game one night, and LeBron scored 14
Nice.
points. His season low had one dunk, so it was see
Wow.
LeBron for the first time. Didn't do much. And the
That's
next
awesome.
day, we went. It was Christmas Eve. We went to the Browns Steelers game in Cleveland, just right next door, and the Browns
Yeah.
lost 41-0. It was snowing
Wow.
on us the whole time. We got paired by some Steeler fans, which they were cool. Like they didn't, they obviously they
Well,
talked their
thank
shit,
God.
which
Yeah.
they should, but they didn't. They weren't like belligerent about it. They weren't ignorant.
Yeah.
After a
Yeah, you
while,
got two different fans. People, if you root for rival teams, you give each other a little bit of shit, but you got some that overdo, especially in the like football atmospheres. Like I think probably one of the worst because everybody's tailgating and a lot of
Yep.
alcohol fuel
Yep.
rage,
Yeah, but
and
luckily they were cool. My dad, I'm sure, had a couple of beers, but he had to drive back home. I couldn't
yeah,
drink at the time, obviously, but they were cool. But that game was not cool. It was 41-0.
yeah.
But we were like
Wow.
13 rows off the field in the corner of the end zone. We got scalp tickets, so you get what you
Yeah,
get, and we got pretty good. So it was a cool experience. Me and my dad getting to go to a game. We went last year to the game. So I've been to 3 Browns games. I've been to more Steeler games. My mom used to
yeah,
get
because
Steeler
just
tickets
more
from work.
convenience.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
actually at the first ever like official NFL game played at Heinz Field, a preseason game against the Lions. So
nice.
it was cool. That's like part of history. Like I got to sort of like see them open the stadium, even though it was preseason. It was
Yeah, that
cool.
makes that's awesome.
As much
I
as I do not
remember.
like the Steelers, they have a great stadium. I will go there anytime,
Yeah,
any game.
I went to I passed my brother lives in Cincinnati. So if I have to like we did a drive that's like from New York to Cincinnati. That's like I want to say I did it in 9 because I was really going.
Okay.
But I did it in 9 and on my way back like I was like, you know what? Let me stop in Pittsburgh. I was like, let me just stop and look around and stuff like that. It was just me and my wife. I was like, all right, let me just look around in Heinz Field. It looks beautiful from the outside.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Outside, inside. Same thing with PNC Park.
Yeah,
Right across the
I've been
parking
to
lot.
one PNC game. I went I'm a Mets fan unfortunately, so I went Mets Pirates on a Saturday, and that is probably it's always rated as the #1 park in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a mission for me to like, all right, let me go check this out. And it is like the site of the river and the
Yep.
bridges and the skyline and just everything about it. It's like it's what like as a baseball fan, it's everything you dream of,
Right.
so to speak,
Everything you
from a
need there,
from a
especially like when the
ballpark.
skyline hits, like when the sun starts going down, if you have the right seats and you can see that skyline from where you're sitting, it's one of the most incredible things I've seen. And Pittsburgh as a
Yeah,
whole, the city's great. I love the city of Pittsburgh. I love going down there for anything.
yeah,
Been down there for concerts, games, wrestling events. It's a great city. I love being down there. I've thought about moving down there. I do not like the sports teams from there, except the Penguins. I do like the
yeah,
Penguins,
yeah,
but the Steelers, I hate. I don't care. My mother is a Steelers fan, and I hate it. A lot of my other family Steeler fans, and I absolutely hate it. But we like who we like for whatever reason, and that's what makes sports fun.
yeah. All right, I'll fast forward 2 years ago, 2018. Browns have the #1 pick, and they picked Baker Mayfield. Which how did you feel about that pick? Did you feel that he was the one, or because I mean, a lot of QBs, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, a lot of QBs that were projected #1. How do you feel about Baker
Yeah,
being
I
picked?
love Baker in college, so I thought he would be a good fit. And I don't. I'm an Ohio State fan, and the Browns and Ohio State are the only 2 Ohio teams I root for. Um, but my buddy's an Oklahoma fan, so I hate them just because he likes them. That's friendship. That's how we build friendships and stuff. So he's an
Yeah.
Oklahoma fan, and then Baker in Oklahoma beat Ohio State, and he's took the flag and put it in the ground right in the middle of the O
Uh,
at Buckeye Stadium. So like I didn't like that obviously, but I liked that he played with like a swagger and he was like confident and like he talked his shit, but then he backed it up too. So I was like, that's a guy I want. I want a guy that doesn't care about what any of these other people say. Oh, the Browns had X amount of first overall picks or top 5 picks, X amount of quarterback. He didn't care. I want to be the one to change it. All right, cool. So I quickly got behind that. Fortunately for him, he got to come in early because Tyrod Taylor just was not good.
yeah, I
And
remember he had a game again. The game as a Jet fan, I remember watching that game, Jets Browns, and then the worst thing that could happen is the sack on Tyrod Taylor,
yep,
and the Jets were up too, and then Baker Mayfield came in and just
yep, sure did.
saved the day.
And then it was, He played pretty good his rookie season, so set the record for most touchdowns by a rookie in a season, which that's incredible if you think about how many rookies have actually got to play, their first season, like Peyton Manning, and he guys passed like Peyton Manning, and that's like the biggest one. That was like cool. He broke Peyton Manning's record, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so he played well. The next season is when they went with Kitchens. And as a Browns fan, you have to find ways to defend whatever the Browns do, even if it's garbage.
I
Like,
know. It's
and
tough.
you know that from rooting like with the Mets, and you're a Jets fan. So like you know like how I feel about misery.
Yeah.
A little bit
I
less
don't know
than me
why.
because I don't know why we do this to ourselves and root for teams like this.
It's the same situation. I'm in the same situation. My father was also rooted for those teams, and the memories of going to those games, him taking me to these games and rooting for these teams, I just like never looked back. So it's like, yeah,
Right.
it's the same thing.
So we have to find some sort of excuse to justify whatever these teams do. So Freddie Kitchens, I'm cool with because he was the interim offensive coordinator. Baker played a lot better in the second half of his rookie season with him, and I was like, okay, well, Baker trusts him. Baker knows what he's doing. But then again, it was another head coach, and it was another offensive coordinator. And then, he struggled last year. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's not a franchise quarterback. He's done. Well, last I checked, franchise quarterbacks aren't made in, 2 seasons. That, obviously,
No.
Patrick Mahomes in his second season got the start and, lit the league on fire. And then his third season, he won the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson led the league, or, was MVP last year. So it's going to take time for some guys and not so much time for others. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's playing decently this year, but he's not like electrifying.
Yeah, he's not a world beater like last year where he was like, oh shit, who's this guy?
Right. And so this year Baker has yet another head coach and another offensive system, but yet they're committed to the run. So it's allowing him to get better without having to do a whole hell of a lot. And that's great for him. Put him in, throw the ball a little bit, but if they can get creative like they did yesterday with OBJ getting,
I was about to mention, the year after 2019, they pull off the trade for Odell Beckham and from the Giants. And how did you feel? Because you have like probably the guy that can be the greatest receiver
I was really
in this league and for a long time. Yeah,
they were always rumored to be married together in trade rumors. So I was just like, all right, cool, let this happen. That'd be Baker has another weapon. Yeah, we had Jarvis Landry, who I liked even in Miami. He's just consistent. He just shows up, catches the ball, moves the chains. Doesn't complain, doesn't do much, is there for his team. And then to get his best friend, I was like, yeah, bring that here because that'll be cool because they can't guard everyone, and Njoku was pretty good at the time. Now they have, Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant. When OBJ came, first the rumors went away. They're like, oh, no deal for OBJ. He's staying put in New York. They want to build with him. Well, then they didn't, and they traded him to Cleveland, and that was one of the better offseason moves the Browns have made in my lifetime following them. It's a dynamic playmaker who obviously wants the football, but this year him and Landry have both said, hey, if we're winning games and it's the run team or the run game is doing it, run it.
That's all that matters.
But in the past, OBJ, might have thrown a fit, and some people like last year that
because the Giants a lot of Giants fans I know were like kind of happy. They're kind of relieved. It's like, yeah, he's talented, but just a lot of his ego or whatever, his just a lot of distractions from him, and like so they were kind of happy. But
I was overjoyed. I'm still overjoyed, especially what we saw yesterday. They found
oh my God.
And especially beating the Cowboys. I know they're 1-3 this year, and it's just the Cowboys. Now they're just the Cowboys. A week ago, I heard, oh, well, good luck stopping Dak and company, and good luck keeping up with the points. Well, Dak and company had to keep up with our points this week, which was cool. And in years past, the Browns would have blown that lead. 100% would have blown that lead. But yesterday, they found a way to turn it. But if we're able to get OBJ involved in a way that is creative like that, Jarvis Landry threw him a touchdown. Who then OBJ said after the game it's probably his favorite touchdown ever, favorite play ever, and it can replace all the touchdowns in the world because that's like his best friend. He called his brother. They grew up together. They went to LSU together. They're in the league together. Now they're on the same team together. That's very rare in sports or in life in general. Like,
absolutely.
I'm lucky. I've been able to work with some of my best friends for the past 4 or 5 years. That's rare. I always tell the kids we work with, that's rare. You get that to happen. And so to see it happen, to see it unplay like it had, I know last year wasn't very good for OBJ. He still had 1,000 yards receiving. He was banged up, him and Landry. Last year, this was a disaster. This year, it feels completely different. And
Yeah,
especially his
three and
attitude. Like
one.
last
Yeah,
year, his attitude seemed sort of like that New York attitude. Like, there was the come get me out in
yeah,
Arizona, which that was blown
yeah.
completely out of proportion.
hmm
There's trade rumors after week one after they lost to the Ravens. Oh no, lose to the Ravens that led by Lamar Jackson and Harbaugh and okay. And then they've routed off 3 straight. He's played well in all of those games. They scored over 30 in each of those games. That's incredible. So if they can get him the ball, then and if it doesn't have to be Baker necessarily doing, I mean, he flipped the ball to him yesterday for the the game sealing run. But hey, if Baker doesn't have to do that much and OBJ can just get his while Baker doesn't turn it over, sign me up for that.
Yeah, so it looks good. I mean, 3-1 now, and you got bright young players, and sky's the limit, man. It's
Yeah,
it
this
it
is far
can.
from 0-16.
Yes.
It's far from 0-16, which of course I got a bunch of shit from a bunch of people for that, which is cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, they suck. They were
Yeah.
0-16. Some of those games are more competitive than what their record shows, but it still doesn't
hmm
matter. And then the next year they win one game, and it happened
Yeah.
on I think it was like Christmas Eve, and I was up at my
hmm
family's house, for Christmas and stuff, and we're watching. And I just remember being so excited, and I was thinking earlier, if this got brought up, I would talk about this. How it's sort of pathetic for teams like the Browns to get excited because they won a game, but they were
hmm
almost going back to back over. Like,
Yeah.
like that would be even more
That'd be a second record
million
record
miles.
like yeah, 0-32. That would have been that'd probably be like, ah damn, this kind of
I mean, I'd rather be 1-31 is better than 0-32. So like
there's yep.
it was a cool moment. I remember a lot of people online were going nuts, and they had the what are those? The beer coolers that were locked, and they unlocked as soon as the Browns would win a game. So that's a cool moment. But from then until now, even the 0-16 till now, it's completely different. Even last year to this year is completely different. And you know this from rooting for teams similar to the Browns
Yeah.
that you'll take what you can get. Like
Uh-huh.
hopefully this is the start of what's a long stretch to come of good play. They said yesterday, Stefanski said yesterday after the game, the games are 4 quarters and so are the season. And we played well in the first quarter. We got to continue to play that in the second, third, and fourth quarters. So, and I think they can even with Nick Chubb out.
Yeah. That
Because they
yeah. It's
said,
the thing. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying with like yeah, being like a fan of a team in the NFL, it's like once after like the Jets haven't won yet. So like once after 2 games, I'm like, yeah, just lose. Let's just get a pick, especially this year if we get
Mm-hmm.
what's it, Trevor Lawrence from
Trevor Lawrence, yeah.
the QB. Yeah, that's the aim for everybody now. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, just lose them all. I don't
You'd
I
move
don't
off Darnold? Would you move off Darnold for Trevor Lawrence?
it's tricky because like all right, would you trade, like, say Jets do get the pick? Would you trade, I guess, the number 1 pick? There might be value. I mean, I still have hope in Darnold. Darnold does look good, but I guess it's just what he's around. He's around
Yep.
garbage. No
Yeah.
O line, no even though Becton's a great pick, um, nobody to really throw it to. You know what I'm saying? So it's just and just a lot of changes too. It's like same with Cleveland. A lot of changes, head coaching, and NFL football is about a system. It's about,
Yep.
like you've seen players like defensive players like, oh, he can't do well in a 4-3, but we'll trade him to a team. They run a 3-4 and they're like, oh my good, what happens? The system, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
So it's one of those situations. I mean, Trevor Lawrence seems like another guy that people talk about so much. He's a generational talent. So if somebody wants Darnold, if you can get value for him, that'd be, I mean, once if they do get the number 1 pick, the options are there. There's a
Oh,
whole
absolutely.
bunch of options. Either you could trade off that number 1 pick and get quality picks for that number 1 pick, and just build your O line, get a flashy wideout, get somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
That'd be cool. But at this point, with the Jets being 0-4, just tank already. It's
Right.
like that's
I've
what I'm
known that
waiting
from,
for.
I've said that about Browns teams for years. All right, well,
Yeah.
we're out of the playoffs already, and I've always heard, I'm sure you've heard the similar jokes. Every team had a shot at the Super Bowl this year except Cleveland Browns. This is after, okay, great, cool. So, we don't have that. But yeah, just like Baker, he has a lot of different coaches and systems, and his 3 years.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work in his favor. He's like, all right, who do I talk to now? It's like, oh, this guy. Now this guy's coming in. No, you got to, you know what I'm saying? So it's like different, pulled all over the place.
And Baker and Darnold and Daniel Jones, they're always going to be tied together. They were that draft class.
Yeah, Josh Allen looks great though.
He does look great. Again, system.
I'm like, damn, we should have took. Yeah, but yeah, he's looking really good.
Colin Cowherd, he loves Sam Darnold and hates Baker Mayfield, whatever. And he said if they flip roles, then the same thing will be happening. Just in they'd be in different uniforms. Baker would struggle up in New York because there's the offensive line isn't that great. He has nobody to throw to.
Yeah.
And Darnold would shine and then now Baker's a game manager for now, and that's what they need him to be. Especially now with Chubb out. What's great about it is they have another number one back in the backfield already. Like they don't have to go to the practice squad. They don't have to go to their backups. They go to Kareem Hunt. So Baker you keep handing the ball off. You keep making the throws. He's like top 10 in passer rating now. He's had over 100 or more passer rating in each of the past 3 weeks. So I couldn't be happier. I know this is still 12 games left, but coming from that franchise that 3-1 might as well feel like 10-0.
10-0, yeah, you're on top of the world right now, week by week, and there's just a week that just passes like this. You celebrate for the next 6 days, and then the next game comes, and you're like, all right,
right.
Let's see
every
what
week
happens.
It's gonna be, oh well, it's just this team. The Browns haven't played anyone that great. They beat Washington. They beat Cincinnati, who Joe Burrow was incredible in that game and nearly brought.
Yeah, that was a close game too. Yep.
And Washington was a little bit closer than I would have liked, and it's a little bit closer than the score. And then Dallas, they're 1-3. Okay, they're 1-3, but they're still the Dallas Cowboys, and that's still for the Browns. That's a statement win. That hey, we beat these guys, and they're known for airing it out. And Dak throws 400 plus yards a game and 500 this game, and the talk was, oh well, let's see about Dallas. Let's see if you beat Dallas, and then we beat Dallas, and oh, it's just Dallas. They're 1-3. All right, well, let's hope we do that against the Colts this week, where that a tough defense, solid offense, and it should be another fairly close game. Hopefully, the Browns can not make it as close as this week, but it's just one of those things. Oh, it's not an excuse. Just it is what it is. I always tell my friend that we talk sports with that hey, it doesn't matter what they did last year. It doesn't matter what could happen. We're judging off right now 4 games. At the time we were talking about things 2 games. But 4 games right now is all we have things to judge off of. We have no idea who's going to start going into a slump, who's going to get red hot, who's going to be an X factor for a team. You can't predict that at all.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember the year also Cleveland had Trent Richardson, and that didn't. Yeah, that didn't work out too well.
No, and they drafted. I think he was 3rd overall, if I'm not mistaken. But then like a year or 2 later, they shipped him to Indy. So
yeah.
A lot of people are like, that's dumb. That's so dumb. And it resulted in, 2 picks. And, so it worked out.
Because he's not the same. Yeah.
He wasn't the same. There's that, every time I think of Trent Richardson, there's a meme that I think of that Trent Richardson in college, has DirecTV. Trent Richardson on the Colts.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
Every time I hear his name, because he played decently well for Cleveland, and then they just moved off of him.
Yeah.
Well,
I had him 1 year in fantasy. I had him that same year. And once he got traded off, I was like, all right, I guess I'll release him.
Right. Yeah. So, there's a lot of players that have come and gone.
RG3 is another one.
RG3, I thought he was going to be, once he came to Cleveland, got a second chance. I think it was a second chance then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely a second chance because he was. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Johnny Football. I like him.
Oh yeah.
For the same reason I like Baker Mayfield. I like him because he's cocky. He's very brash. He's very, very confident in himself. It didn't pan out. There's so many quarterbacks that I don't even know if I can name 10 quarterbacks right now. That's how many there are that just off the top of my head.
That came and went. Yeah,
came and went.
Hoyer, I remember Hoyer because he had him
Hoyer
one
and
defense.
Holden Couch, and then there was Anderson, and Johnny
Colt McCoy,
Football,
so many,
Colt
yeah.
McCoy, RG3. What was there's way too many. But, now Baker,
Yeah.
obviously, in case Keenum backs him up, and Tyrod
Yeah.
Taylor was there. And I really liked the Tyrod Taylor signing, and I thought Baker could
Mm-hmm.
learn a lot from him. Well, then Baker got the reins, the next week after, getting injured. And then the next week after that, he was fully the starter. Hasn't, missed a game since. And so that hopefully we have one. He doesn't have to be, Pat Mahomes. He doesn't have to be even, anything special. Just do what you're supposed to. Don't turn the ball over.
Absolutely.
Sam, who's a big Cowboys fan. I mean, you talked wrestling with him a lot. He's very salty with his opinion. So yesterday he didn't really have much to say. What Baker do? Baker
that had to feel good. Yeah, that had to feel good.
It felt great. He's like one of like three pretty good friends of mine that are Cowboys fans. So I let them all hear it and just like, yeah. But he's like, oh, what did Baker do with his 165 yards pass? And I was like, did what he needed to do. And then he's like, he did what he could do. I was like, if he's going to just throw 2 touchdowns and not turn the ball over, I'm cool with however many yards he can have 20 yards in that same stat line. Okay, cool. But that wasn't the case, and he got what he needed to, and it felt great. I know he's salty about that one, and that's gonna hurt him for a while. Sorry, Sam.
Yes. All right, man. Yo, so we're at present time. Thank you for sharing your Browns memories with us, and this was fun, man. I appreciate it. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I do like talking Browns. Sometime I'm going to have you talk, wrestling and sports on my podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that would be definitely fun.
We met through Suplex City, a Facebook wrestling group, and it's ironic
that
I've done
shout out to them.
I've done so many projects with so many different people from that group. It's insane. Like, WrestleMania last year was awesome. So, it's great meeting people, especially like you who are like-minded like me, like, sports and wrestling and content creators. So, so
that's
cool.
what we do. Yeah.
So like he said earlier, mymindonsports.com. Right now, I'm giving a weekly overview of the NFL every week, giving my thoughts on that. I can write whatever I want, whenever I want, from any sport, wrestling, MMA, and all the 4 major American sports. So follow me on there. Go there, check me out. Check out everyone else out there. They cover DC sports. So if you're a DC fan of anything, or DMV area, go check that out. Find me at Pro Football Action. I do a shift it there every Tuesday where I cover the news in the NFL, and then usually I've been doing the Washington football team preview every week as my other piece to do. So that's cool. So check me out there at Twitter, King Edward 15. Talk a lot of sports, talk a lot of wrestling, talk music, talk whatever there. Instagram is King 15 Edward. I post sometimes there about sports stuff, but my articles. Mostly this year I've been posting about the Browns. It feels good to post Victory Monday post, or in one case Victory Friday post. I don't get to do that very often, so I'm going to enjoy that. Follow me all of those places. Right for My Mind on Sports, like I said, Pro Football Action. Check me out.
All right, thanks, Eddie. I appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, appreciate it, man.
All right, take care. All right, that was Eddie McDonald. Follow him on his socials, as you see in the ticker. Follow us at Root for Laundry, and show that love. Show that love. Like, share, subscribe, and tune in when I have another team and another guest. My name is Johnny McDonald. Thank you. Be safe and be well. Have a good one.